Happy Pretty Tough Tuesday and welcome to the Pretty Tough Podcast. I'm your host, Hailey Corona, and today's episode is going to be a fun one. I have on somebody that has been doing really incredible over the past month. She's wrestled at 3 different tournaments and had a really incredible showing. She won the U20 Pan American Games. She then went on to win Fargo and then capped it off with the U17 World Championships where she won gold. So she's had a really fun month, a busy month of competing. She's also a 2-time Pennsylvania state champ, and she has done, a lot in the short time that she's been wrestling. So I'm really excited for people to hear her story and to learn what she's doing differently than everybody else to help her to hit these levels. So welcome to the podcast, Marlee Solomon. Thanks so much for being here, girl.
Hi, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So how I start my podcast off is I always ask my guests, what is the best piece of advice that you could give to a girl wrestler? So if you had to come up with something, what would it be?
To be honest, just, really do your best to trust God with your path because you can go so many directions, but, the one that He wants you to go and is leading you towards is obviously, the best path. And I definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Him. So I just know this is what I'm meant to be doing now. So it's pretty
I
awesome.
love that. Yeah, that's so good. Such a great piece of advice. And I love on your platforms, you do a really good job of glorifying God in your journey. So for sure, it's really cool to just see that and to know that that's part of your journey, that you're sharing your faith is really cool. And I like being able to see that. I'm really curious to know how you actually got involved in wrestling because you started as a freshman, right?
Yeah. I did start when I was in like 7th, 8th grade, but it was a little bit on and off, but I definitely
Okay.
locked it in when I was a freshman for sure. It was
Okay.
definitely, yeah, a long journey, but we made it.
For sure. So tell me about the journey. So 7th, 8th grade, like what even got you wanting to try wrestling?
My mom, when she was in high school, she wrestled and, she was a little state champ. So that was pretty
Dang.
cool. And, she talked about it and had like so much love for it. So I thought, it was something to try. And I didn't really like it at first, but, I'd go back and forth with it. And I always just found myself, wanting to do it and coming back to it. So I was just like, this is a sport for me. This is like what I'm supposed to be doing. So yeah.
Dang, that's crazy. So she wrestled when she was in high school and she won state like for girls or for guys?
Oh, well, she did wrestle like mostly just guys in high school because
Wow.
I think she went to high school in like the 90s or something like that, and there
Yeah.
was like not really any girls. So she did win the
Yeah.
girls' state tournament, but most of her competition was like always boys.
Dang, that's crazy. So cool. So
hmm
did you always know this about her and like it was something that you were like, man, I want to take after her? Or was it kind of like, okay, like my mom's making me do this and then you kind of like found love for it along the way?
Yeah, it was like I was like, oh wow, my mom like used to wrestle. I mean, like that's pretty cool and stuff like that. But I didn't really find my own love for it until I did it. And I was like, yeah, I think I kind of get it now, like when I really got into it.
That's sweet. Way cool. So when you started wrestling, were you on like an all girls team or were you on a boys team?
I actually started for like maybe 2 or 3 months when I was like 9 years old in Utah, actually, when I
Oh,
lived there.
nice. No
Yeah,
way.
so yeah, I know there
That's
was
cool.
a bit of girls there, but it was more of a mix of girls and boys, especially there. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yep.
But when I moved to California, there's like girls wrestling out there is so big. I was always wrestling with girls. But here, it's in Pennsylvania, it's more of like girls and guys. I wrestle with mostly guys here. So
Oh, wow. Okay. Dang, that's crazy. So Utah, you kind of got your start, which is crazy. I didn't even know that. Where were you guys living in Utah?
we actually lived in Harriman, if you know where that is.
Yes,
You?
yes. I grew up in Harriman for like
Oh
12
wow,
years. Yeah, that's crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, what a small
Yeah.
world. Wow. Okay, so why did you guys then move to California?
For my mom's business, which is also
Okay.
why I moved here.
Okay, way cool. That's awesome. So, what's been your favorite place that you've lived so far?
Honestly, I want to say it's between definitely Pennsylvania and California. I love the weather in California, and like the girls wrestling culture out there for sure. But I also love how like down low and like peaceful it is in Pennsylvania. And obviously the wrestling culture here is like crazy, but
For
it's a
sure.
little bit more toward the boys than the girls over here. And
Mm.
it's getting there where the girls are getting a little bit more known and stuff like that, but it's just not there yet, like it is for California.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So in California, obviously girls wrestling has been developed for a while. So when you were there, that was when you were a freshman, right? When you wrestled in California?
Actually, like 7th grade. Yeah,
Oh, okay, seventh grade. Got it. Did you wrestle ever at the California State Tournament?
I did. My freshman year, I wrestled California State at 100 pounds, and I got 5th place that year.
Dang, that's awesome. So, so cool. So, when you were in Cali wrestling there, wrestling girls, you had like a girls team there though, right?
Yeah, it was pretty small. Obviously, there were other ones that were pretty big and pretty small, and some that just didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a team. But my team, it was like maybe 5 or so girls, and we were pretty tight.
That's sweet. So, did you just wrestle alongside the boys, or did you have like your own coach for your specific team?
It was a little bit iffy because we would sometimes have coaches switching in and out, and
Okay.
my sophomore year we had a girls coach, and then he left, and then we were back with the boys. But it was just kind of on and off. But wrestling with the
Mm,
boys wasn't really a problem for us because they were pretty
yeah,
chill with us.
that's so nice. That's so good because a lot of times I feel like the boys cannot be very welcoming. So that's good that they were actually like willing to
Oh
work
my
with you guys.
gosh, not at all. When I first moved to Pennsylvania, I actually go to like mostly an all boys club now. They were
Oh,
not
uh-huh.
really welcoming at first, like at all, especially because
Shoot.
like there's not as many girl wrestlers out here. So, they kind of had to warm up to me a little bit, and they're still not
Yeah.
fully there yet, but it's all right.
Dang it, that's so tough. It's hard. I mean, it's really good to train with the boys. I feel like for me, it helped in my wrestling career to be able to jump levels just because they do, have that added kind of experience and it's just a different feel. Do you feel like it's hard, the style of how guys wrestle and how girls wrestle? It is a different style of wrestling. So is it hard to go from wrestling with boys to then competing against girls?
Honestly, I would say it is pretty hard. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, wrestling guys, they have different bodies than women.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it is a little bit like different when I wrestle a girl and a guy because, I'm all for shooting on guys because they don't really sprawl on you. They kind of just like scramble out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a little bit different because then when I go to wrestle a girl, I have a little bit more trouble shooting on her because she's kind of just going to use like her heavy hips and sprawl on me. So, yeah, it is a bit
Mm-hmm.
different, but I like wrestling with both because I feel like it just like it helps me improve in so many ways in like every aspect that I can.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it definitely is different. The girls' hips are so heavy that the defense is a lot different and just even like
Mhm.
movement and flexibility, it just is it's just totally different in how girls move than how boys move. And so I think that you can gain a lot from wrestling with the boys. But then like for
Yeah.
me when I was training and then going to compete with high-level women, it was really hard for me to make that translation of wrestling with the boys and how they flow to then wrestling with girls and the flow just feels a little bit different, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like so many different looks that they both give you. It's kind of hard to put together, but it's definitely an advantage to have both to wrestle with. So I'm really grateful for that.
For sure. So you said that they weren't really welcoming when you came to Pennsylvania and you've kind of like had to, figure that out. So has it just taken you kind of like continuing to show up and be dedicated that's kind of helped to change their views?
I honestly, it's kind of hard to say because I don't really talk to most of them, but I would say that me showing up every day and like getting after it, even if they didn't want to be my partner most of the time because they don't most of the
Right.
time, but it's all right. Just getting after it and doing my best to be a good partner and not giving up even when they beat me over and over again and sometimes even getting good enough to score on them. I think that kind of created a little bit more of a level of respect for them
Mm,
and that they have for me. So I think that's pretty cool. And now some of us are actually friends,
that's
and
awesome.
I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm just really grateful to have them as partners to push me, as well as my female partners. I love them too.
Oh, for sure. That's awesome. So, when you're wrestling in your high school season, because you wrestle for a high school called Canon McMillan, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, do you have like a separated boys and girls team, or is that when you're combined with the boys and wrestling with the boys there?
That one is a separate team.
Okay. Got it. And then in your club season, that's when you're getting a lot of partners with the boys at that time.
Yeah, especially, yeah.
Okay, what club do you wrestle for?
I wrestle at Quest School of Wrestling. It's like a club in a kind of like a little barn in the
That's
middle of
awesome.
nowhere. Yeah,
Heck
it's
yeah,
pretty
that's
cool. It's
sweet.
a lot different out here than in California. So that was a shock to me when I first got here, but I definitely got used to it.
Oh, I bet. So what does your training look like? Because what's really impressive about you is I know you said you kind of started a bit when you were younger and then, didn't really pick it up and then came back to it. But what you've been able to accomplish in the short time that you have been competing is really impressive. So what are you doing differently in your training that you think is helping you to hit these high goals?
Mm, to be honest, I feel like maybe setting high standards for myself and, obviously, since I started late, I am a lot harder on myself because, there's all these kids that started when they were younger and they're just like hitting all these marks. I feel like especially in girls wrestling, I know there's a lot of girls that started pretty late that are doing really good now, like
Yep.
myself and like my other teammates on the world team, some of them. But also like majority of girls that are really good at a high level, they kind of started when they were a lot younger, which is
Mhm,
kind of
mhm.
crazy. So I try not to let, that disadvantage of starting later like gets me. So I just do my best to set high standards and beat them, no matter what.
For sure. Yeah, that's great. So, when you say high standards, does that look like just in your training? Like, how many times do you train a day? Like, are you going to multiple practices? Like, are you doing outside of practice extra things? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. What I mean by high standards, I would say just, winning tournaments that I probably like shouldn't, like,
Mm-hmm.
like the world tournament, I went into that, I was really nervous about that. And
Really?
honestly, I was like, you've only been wrestling, like thoughts like you've only been wrestling for like what, 3, 4 years, and you think you're about to
Mm-hmm.
go win a world title. Those were kind of
Right.
popping in my head, but like I just remembered like all the hard practices I've gone through and like the things I've had to battle to, get there and like beat
Mm-hmm.
the odds. So I
That's
definitely
sweet.
use that.
Well, that's so awesome. I love that you've been able to have that mindset. And that's probably really helpful for other girls listening to hear that that you did have doubts going into that tournament and that it wasn't just like, no, like I knew I was going to win it. I bet that's reassuring for some people that do deal with doubts themselves. So, is that something that you feel like at a lot of tournaments that your mindset, you have to, kind of like train your mind to think differently, or what's your mindset typically like?
My mindset typically is I wouldn't say that I doubt myself a lot, but I would say that I have more of a realistic mindset to keep myself humble instead of like saying like I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna wreck this tournament, I'm gonna beat everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think like that. I think that there's other talented girls in the bracket that are there to win just as much as I am, and I just have to stay level headed and do what I do every day in the room, and it's no different than at this tournament.
That's awesome. I love that. So for you, in your off-season training, are you like hitting runs in the morning? Are you doing like extra mindset stuff? What does your training every day look like?
Everyday training. Off-season training, I do try to get in as much, workout in as possible. I try to train at least twice a day,
Mm-hmm.
before like competitions come up, so then I can let my body rest a little bit more, so that I'm not like all beaten down on. But
For sure.
training twice a day, mostly good hard practices. I do get to the opportunity to go train with girls from like other countries sometimes, or
Nice.
like other world team members. Like I'm really fortunate to live next to one of them,
Oh,
Isla Silva.
wow.
Yeah, she's like one of
Way
my best
cool.
friends. It's super
That's
cool that we're like
awesome.
coincidentally 20 minutes from each other. So I love training with her.
Dang.
It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's sweet. That's so
Yeah, and
cool.
just training with like, other really good guys and girls just from all over is super helpful in the off season as well to get like a different feel of a lot of people.
Yeah, I love that. So, do you normally have to kind of travel around to like meet with the partners so that you can, get lots of different feels?
Yeah, I do that. And fortunately my mom is like cool enough so she'll drive me like 13 hours to go train with somebody, which is really
Wow,
cool.
that's a
Yeah,
pretty
like we'll just
committed
drive
mom.
all over the place. So long drives don't really bother us anymore.
That's awesome. Sounds like she's a pretty awesome mom to support you in that way.
Definitely, yeah.
So, has she like coached you since she wrestled? Like when you were growing up, did she want to coach you or what? Was that something that was not very good for you guys to be, like working together?
Um Honestly, I feel like when I was younger, her coaching me was really helpful because I was
Mm.
just getting into it and stuff like that. But now I like to be a little bit more independent. So I'm like, she'll coach me sometimes, but I'm more of like, I can do it by myself now. So
That's awesome. Well, I think that's awesome that she's still able to support you in other ways, like driving you to your practices, going to all these tournaments, because it seems like she travels to all those tournaments with you too, right?
yeah, 100%. She's always there for me, which is really awesome.
That's so great. I love that because my dad, when we were growing up, he would coach me, and when we were young, it was great. I loved it. And as we got older and into high school, me and him definitely butt heads, and only because he was, trying to support me and help me and do all the right things. But being a teenager, sometimes it's hard to accept that help and to want it from your parents. And so I remember I fired him multiple times. I was like, "Okay, no, like you're not coaching me anymore. We're done with this. I just want you to be my dad." And I remember that was kind of a challenging time for us because we were just trying to figure out how we could, make it work. And eventually it got to the point where he was, my not that he wasn't my number one supporter, but, he was figuring out how to still show me support outside of coaching me, which was really nice. So I think it's awesome that you guys have been able to figure that out too, and that she's able to show up for you in those ways of going to all your competitions, helping you with everything is really great. So shout out to your mom for that one.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so when you started wrestling, and you said that you kind of had to like develop a love for it. When you guys came out to Pennsylvania, what was the difference between like wrestling in like a California and wrestling in Pennsylvania? Did it make you want to get better because Pennsylvania was so different than California? Because you had competitive California, but also competitive Pennsylvania in kind of different ways. So stepping into Pennsylvania, how did it force you to want to grow?
I would say the difference in like the atmosphere was kind of like a shock to me at first. So,
Really?
like, yeah, girls wrestle so differently in both of those places. And like,
Uh-huh.
I obviously had different expectations because I came in without a new coach or anything. So I had to find a new coach, I had to find new partners. And I didn't want that to really be an excuse for me as like why I don't do as well because when I did move, I did kind of get a little, I wouldn't say worse, but I didn't get a lot better because I had
Mm.
won NHSCA the year before. And then when I moved, I didn't end up winning that year. But I feel like a lot of other things played into that as well as me going up like 3, 4 weight classes.
Yeah.
But, I also just didn't want that to be an excuse. So I tried my best to find the best partners, the best coaches around me. And
Mhm.
I used that to definitely like get myself a lot better than I was before, which was the goal.
For
So I
sure.
think it worked out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, it seems like it did because you went from placing at CIF and then you won 2 Pennsylvania state titles, like, you had to have been doing something right. I mean, you jumped levels pretty well, so that's super cool to see that, and I'm really curious to know, like, did you set those goals for yourself of, "I wanted to win a high school state title," or was it just kind of along the way you were like, "Man, I'm getting pretty good at this," and then it kinda developed over time?
I did end up setting those goals for myself because I feel like always setting goals for myself is what helps me to, push a lot harder to be able to do that. And like when I set like goals for myself, I set them to, be the highest that they can. Like I didn't tell myself that I just wanted to place that state again. I told myself that I wanted to win it and that it was like it was my time to win it, even if, I might not be the what's it called? Number 1 choice to win it, I wanted to do it
Mhm.
anyway, so I just put that on my mind and I said it and I did it. So,
That's
that was
awesome.
pretty
So
cool.
cool. Yeah, no, it is super cool. I'm really impressed by what you've been able to do, and I'm wondering too, like with you setting these big goals for yourself, is that something that you do just like journaling on your own that you like go about it each season that you're setting new goals? Do you have like a specific time that you're doing that just for like girls that are trying to figure out, hey, when should I be setting these goals? How do I do it? What would be your advice for them?
And setting goals, that's like a really important part of this sport, I feel like, and like, mindset training as well. I do journal occasionally. I like to write my goals down like a lot of the time, and I actually put it on my ceiling above my bed so that I could see it. I actually
That's
for
awesome.
yeah, for World Team Trials, I put 2026 World Team Member above my
Dang.
bed, and for I put World Champ above my bed too, and they both happened, which might not be a coincidence, but I just think that's pretty cool, and I think it definitely helped me because I'd wake up and see it, and I think that is mine. And when I do occasionally journal, I do use my mom's, Wrestling Chicks journal. It definitely
Uh-huh.
helps a lot because it helps me to write down my goals and my expectations for myself, about me and my teammates and, what I want for the future and like how my practices were. It just really helps me think about what I'm doing every day and how I can improve the next day.
That's awesome. So, Wrestling Chicks, your mom runs a platform on Instagram called Wrestling Chicks. She has a website. She sells like apparel and journals and stuff. So, we talked a little bit about that before we kind of got started with this. But for everybody that's listening, tell us about Wrestling Chicks.
I feel like the platform, it's a really good platform for, women's wrestling, obviously, because that's what it's about. And I think it's really nice to have a platform that's just about women's wrestling because, there's Flow and there's USA Wrestling and it's like all shared with the boys, which is pretty cool. But this one's just about girls and, about them getting better and spreading more awareness for it because, just the fact that girls can do everything, anything they want to, no matter what, even if it's a male dominated sport, which it definitely is.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
I just love that. So,
For sure. I love that. So cool. So, for listeners, if you haven't checked out already, check out the Wrestling Chicks platform. And you told me that you got to design a singlet for your mom that you guys have on the website, right?
yeah, I did.
Tell me about that, like the process of, you said it was like a really cool flower singlet. And I also want you to share the story of how the Wrestling Chicks kind of started. That was really cool.
All right. So, about the singlet, my mom, she kind of just like, well, I guess this was me that wanted to do it. I was kind of bored, so I just decided to design my own singlet, and my mom thought it was cute, so she decided to put it on her website, which was pretty cool. And
Yeah.
the story of how her little like website and Instagram page came to be, that's not so little, I guess, because it has a lot
Right.
of followers, like
It does.
80,000, which
Uh
is
huh.
pretty cool. It keeps growing. Well, back when I lived in California, I was on my first wrestling team as a freshman. My mom made a group chat, it was called wrestling and then the emoji chick. And I don't know why she did that, but it definitely worked out. It was pretty cute.
That
And then she's
is.
like, wait, it's a cute little name. Wrestling chicks? Hold up. Yeah. And then she made that and it's been good ever since. So
For sure. That's so cool. I love that. And I love the content that she's putting out. And I think it's really cool that she sends those, care packages out for girls to get, some of those journals. And I love that you use her journal to be able to do your own journaling and mental kind of work. So, so fun, so awesome. And so I really want to know now about the last month of your wrestling because, man, you had a crazy month. You went to 3 different tournaments and you obviously killed it all of them. So, take me through, like, when you went back and you qualified for U20 Pan-Ams, and then you also knew that you made a world team. What did your preparation look like going into those tournaments, and then also Fargo in between those two?
my preparation for those tournaments was honestly just getting my mindset right. I had already made the team, so like one of the hardest parts was done. So it was just,
Uh-huh.
tapering, not training too hard, but not training too light and doing what I like, feeding my body what it needed and not doing too much. And honestly, just getting my mindset right to be ready to win these things, especially ones that I had fallen short of before, like Fargo twice, which was a really difficult one for me, to go back to.
Right.
I honestly
Yeah.
like this kind of is a little bit like upsetting to admit, but like I wanted to make the world team so that I didn't have to go to Fargo again. But I
That's
ended up
hilarious.
I ended up doing both, so
That
and it
and
worked out.
obviously, yeah, it did. It worked out. That's hilarious. So, was it
Yeah.
just because you had been like a two-time finalist and it just hadn't gone your way, and so you just were like, "Man, I don't even want to go back and do that again"?
Yeah, actually that was exactly it. I think the second year that I lost, like right after I lost and I got off the podium in second place again, I literally told like all my friends that I was literally not gonna come back if I made the world team next year. I said that like
Wow.
I literally told them I'm going to make the world team so that I don't have to come back. And then there I was, but I mean this year I was on top of the podium, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but I am kind
Right.
of glad my mom made me go so that I could do that because, that would have sucked if I had never conquered that tournament. But
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it's so important to have people in your corner that make you do things that you don't want to do sometimes. So, again, shout out to your mom for making you do these things that you weren't wanting to do, because it obviously did pay off. So, when you did have to go back to Fargo and you were wrestling at that tournament, were you like nervous going into it just because, you didn't want that to happen again? Or did you kind of get into a groove of things and start to just compete like your normal self?
I was actually extremely nervous for that tournament, probably like maybe a little bit more than Worlds because
Wow.
I was so nervous to you know, the thought just kept popping in my head that I just might get second place like again.
Mm-hmm.
And that honestly that was not a good way to think about it, but obviously those thoughts just happen sometimes, but I was really
For sure.
nervous and obviously I overcame it, but my bracket it also was really stacked. I feel like there was I think about 3 or 4 former finalists and a
Dang.
2 champs in there and, some world team members and I think a couple Pan-Am team members in it as well. So it was a really stacked bracket, which
For
also
sure.
made me really nervous, but it was really cool to be able to come out on top of it.
Oh, for sure. So when you said that you were able to overcome it, like that mentality that you had, did you just have like coaches that were, speaking things into you that made you feel more confident? Or did you just, once the whistle blows and you just kind of turn it on?
A little bit of both. I feel like, it helps to definitely I did have a couple coaches that were helping me,
Mm-hmm.
telling me some things that really sharpened my mindset and I did find myself doubting myself a little bit, but they just snapped me out of it, which is really cool. And
For
also
sure.
when I get on the mat, I feel like that kind of helps the nerves get away because I'm in the moment doing it. So everything else kind of just fades away when I'm on the mat, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. And with you talking about your faith a lot, how does your faith play into like competition and just your wrestling career in general?
I feel like my faith really it really does make me who I am. Obviously we all do have our ups and downs in faith because, it's never going to be a perfect, path.
For
But
sure.
I feel like really trying to find the Lord and continuing to search for him even, when I'm having bad days and I'm having a hard time with it. I feel like that's honestly just one of my number one motivations because I feel like wrestling is something that helps bring me closer to him and
Mm,
I really love doing it because of that. And it just really helps me show my love for him in a certain way that I feel like is really unique. So
for
I
sure.
definitely love putting my faith in everything that I do and doing my best to show, that I really do this for him. So
I love that. That's so awesome. Do you feel like it's something then, like in competition, your thought process is more just trying to glorify him through your wrestling, or are you like praying for strength? Like, what does that kind of look like when it comes to competition, helping you to not be so worried about things?
I do my best, really have my relationship with God strong always. And sometimes,
Hmm.
it's not the case, but no
Right.
matter what, I'm always praying to him and just asking him for strength. The good part is, that even if I'm not doing my best with it, he's always there for me when I need him. If I'm nervous for a match, I'm praying. If I'm really down, if I lose a match, I'm also praying and, that's always good to have.
For sure. That's so great. And I feel like it's really nice to be able to have that relationship where you know that, regardless of you not always showing up at 110%, that God's always going to be showing up for you. So I think that was a really awesome perspective for you to have. And okay, so Fargo, you obviously killed it at Fargo, but before that you were in Brazil at the Pan American Games, and it was the U20 Pan American Games, which is crazy because you're a U17. So what was that like, wrestling with older girls? Were you nervous going into it, or was it just kind of like, man, it's just another tournament?
I was pretty nervous going into it because it was my first international tournament as well,
Oh,
which
wow.
was yeah, it was really cool, especially for it to be in Brazil, which
Mm-hmm.
was really
For
awesome,
sure.
and in Rio, that was
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
cool. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
really nervous going into it, obviously, but I try not to let, the little bit of age gap, you know, make me nervous. So I just went out there and did what I always do. So that
I
definitely
love it.
helps, just
For
trying to
sure.
keep my head, level headed and just not think of it as too much. than it is.
Yeah, that's great. So I was telling you actually before we started this podcast that when I had made a Pan American team, I also got to go to Brazil. And for me, it was so cool to just see the different culture, like going to like a new place. And that was my first international tournament as well. And I just remember, showing up when we got there early and just training. We would train out in the heat, and it was just crazy humidity, crazy heat. And then even like competing, we were like slipping on the mats because people were so sweaty and like it was so humid there. Did you have that same experience?
Honestly, it was a little bit different. The humidity was insane, but
Mm-hmm.
slipping on the mats, that's kind of hilarious, but
It was.
no, it wasn't that bad, but it was still
That's
a really
good.
cool experience, a bunch of girls there and getting to train with other Pan Am team members was really cool, and seeing all these other girls from other countries was kind of crazy as well, but yeah, it was just a
For
really cool
sure.
experience overall.
Yeah, did you get to like talk with any of the people from different countries? We would do like Google Translate with a lot of them. Were you able to do that with them?
Actually, yes, I was. I made a couple friends, and that was pretty cool. We'd use Google Translate, and we would find some people to do like that Brazilian dance with us for
Yeah,
fun.
that's
Yes,
awesome.
that was
That's
pretty
so
cool.
fun. I bet. What was like the coolest thing besides the wrestling part of being at the Pan American Games?
I would say going to see like other parts of Brazil than just like the wrestling and going on the bus and you know to the facility. I would say going to the Jesus statue. I think it's called Christ the
Mm,
Redeemer. That was really cool.
yeah.
I saw a monkey and I actually touched it, which was pretty cool.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and we went to the McDonald's and it had like a lot of different stuff on the menu, which the United States didn't have. Had a
That's
grimace
pretty
shake,
cool.
which is not in season right now, but it was pretty cool. I
Wait,
really
you
like
said
that.
what type of shake was it?
A grimace shake. It's like this like random character. I don't even know. And then they had different kinds of ice cream. They love ice cream out there. And they had like loaded fries. Sorry, I'm like going on
Wow.
about food, but it was really
No,
cool.
that's just fine. That's hilarious because honestly, part of those international trips, like getting to experience the different food and the different culture, is one of the coolest parts of being on those trips. So I bet that was just really awesome to get to travel and see all those cool sights and get to experience that culture firsthand. Was it ever like scary being in a different country? Because I know for me, I was so young when I traveled. I was younger than you that I was like, man, I was without my parents too, but I felt a little bit scared being out of country on my own.
Oh yeah, it was definitely scary. It definitely helped to have my mom there, but
For sure.
it was a little bit ghetto, but it was, we were told to like not go outside half the time, but
Mhm.
we did a couple times. It was a really nice experience, going out and kind of seeing that it's not super perfect outside. There is like real stuff that goes on, which is
Right.
a little bit difficult to understand sometimes. So it's cool to see it like firsthand.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we were told like when we would go out, like, to keep all of your valuables in your hotel room, to not bring those out with you. We even would pack like I can't remember if it was for both these trips, but we were supposed to just have bottled water and only drink bottled water. And
Mhm.
it was just kind of crazy seeing, the differences, and also like you're saying, seeing things firsthand of how different it is in these other countries than what it's like back home is a kind of a crazy experience. So I think it's really cool that you were able to see that firsthand. And you also, I think between both those tournaments, you guys had some pretty awesome coaches. Like you had Allie St. John that was on the Pan American trip. You guys had Kayla Miracle on the world team trip. What was it like being around those ladies?
It was like super cool because they were like obviously a really big inspiration to like most of the girls. It was really cool to meet them and like,
Mm-hmm.
be on the same like team as them kind of, and just them
Right.
coaching us and like being there for us specifically because like, we put the work in to be on the team was really cool. I really liked hanging out with Kayla Merkel. She was my warm-up partner actually for
Oh,
like,
nice.
I think both of the days that I wrestled at Worlds, which was a super cool opportunity. And, she's really cool. And I got to know her, which was really awesome. She's a pretty cool person.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're awesome ladies. I bet that was really cool to just be able to see your role models and then have them encouraging you and coaching you. I bet that was a pretty awesome experience.
It definitely was. It was really cool. And, I've never like actually really got to do that before. So I'm really grateful for the experience.
For sure. That's sweet. So, okay, so you went Pan American Games, you had fun there, and then you went Fargo, and then World Championships was coming around. So, was it kind of hard to transition from those big tournaments like back to back? Were you pretty drained?
I definitely was getting really drained toward the end of it. Obviously with the weight cutting and all the traveling, and it was definitely one of the most draining things I've ever done in my life. But at the end of it, it was like so worth it because I actually started at high weight. I was wrestling Pan-Ams at 121.2, and
Uh-huh.
then for Fargo it was 120, and then it just kept going down.
Oh,
And then for
wow.
Worlds it was 116.8, and obviously at like the level that me and those girls are at, we're usually cutting a bit of weight. So,
Sure.
I was doing that and it was getting pretty draining, especially with the time changes and, the airport and the long plane
Mm.
rides. It was getting a little bit exhausting, but it was definitely all worth it in the end.
I bet that was challenging to have to manage your weight across, three big tournaments and then that you were descending each time. That had to have been pretty rough. So what was your favorite like after weigh-ins food that you got to eat?
I would say for Fargo, definitely the soft serve machine in the
Okay.
cafeteria.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't supposed to have it because I was supposed to weigh in for Worlds like a week after, which made the
Right.
cut a little bit more difficult, but it was okay, just a couple extra
For
calories. It
sure.
wasn't gonna hurt that much. For Worlds, I would say my favorite after weigh-in thing that I ate was chocolate milk. And Azerbaijan is where it was. They had
Mhm.
like real chocolate that was like insanely good in the
Oh,
milk, and it
wow.
was like the best chocolate milk I've ever had, and it was so good.
Dang, that's so sweet. I bet that was so cool. So, did you guys get to go out and like eat at different restaurants at all? Because I remember on my trip, we went to a Brazilian steakhouse after we were done wrestling, and it was really yummy, but also everybody got super sick afterwards. Like, everybody was in the bathroom because their tummies were not okay after eating the Brazilian steakhouse.
That's insane. Actually, a lot of people did get to go out and eat in Azerbaijan and
Uh-huh.
Brazil, but in Azerbaijan, some girls didn't because it was like split up between like 2 days, like,
Yep.
or I guess 3 days, because a set of girls would weigh in on the first day, then a set would weigh in on the second day. And
Uh-huh.
I was unfortunately the second day, so I didn't really get to go out and explore that much because I was cutting weight. But it was pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
I got McDonald's though, but I will say that definitely made me feel really sick after.
I bet. Yeah, that probably wasn't the best fuel for for
Yeah,
wrestling.
definitely not.
That's
Oh,
hilarious.
no, I mean, like, after I wrestled and, like, won and everything.
Okay. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Oh man. Well, that's so cool that you still got to experience all of that. So, at World Championships, when you guys got there, what was it like being on the world stage? Because it can be kind of like overwhelming to look around and just see, how big it is or see these other athletes from different countries. Was it overwhelming for you at all, or did you feel pretty comfortable stepping into that environment?
Since it was my first time there, I would say I was very overwhelmed at first, especially because my first match, I got, the returning world champ, and
Wow.
I got literally the hardest match that I had first round, and I was not ready
Dang.
for that because I was really nervous. Thankfully, I came out on top, but it just really helped me, realize like, dang, these girls aren't here to play, which kind of helped me lock in for my other matches. I think, which my first match definitely contributed to me doing a lot better in my other matches. With like, I
Mm,
think I got two tech falls and a pin, and I think like
wow.
my first match really helped me lock it in and be like, yeah, I'm here and I'm here to wrestle, and so are they, but not to let everything, like all the noise, like overwhelm me.
For sure. That's awesome. So, you said you had a returning world champ round one. Do you know where the world champ was from?
She was from Hungary. She was
Oh,
pretty
wow.
solid, definitely.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when you had like a tough match off the bat, was it hard for you to stay in it that first match when you were kind of already, nervous going into it? What was your mindset throughout the match?
Throughout the match, it did kind of change. I first got on the stage and I was pretty nervous, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect her to be as good as she was.
Right, as a round
Uh,
one.
yeah, I was hoping that she wasn't because I was told that I got a good draw,
Uh-huh.
because, obviously the more expected countries for girls wrestling, like India and Japan, were
Right.
on the other side of me, so I was,
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty sure that I got a good draw. Mm-mm. And, that was alright, but my mindset, in the match, I was starting off a bit slow, obviously. I think I went into the second period 4-0, she
Okay.
was winning, and I tried to collect myself, and I just did what I always do. I think I got a pretty tough takedown. I almost didn't get it, but she did get a push-out point on me because no, she got. I actually don't remember what happened. They gave her 3 points. Oh, for a flea because I
Oh,
went out
mhm.
of bounds instead of giving her a takedown, but I turned and then it looked like I was running out, so she got three
Oh,
for that.
shoot. Dang, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, but I kinda just locked it in, and I was really, just gonna do my best, and toward the end, I tried to throw her, and she grabbed it on my leg, and I kinda just, like, scrapped that last one out in the last 2 seconds, but, it was really crazy, and it was a really cool thing to see, like, all my friends, my family, like, in the stands, like, cheering for me, especially when they didn't. There was 2 seconds left, and I don't really know if anyone thought I was still gonna win. I definitely
Dang, that's crazy. So it was the last 2 seconds when you pulled off the win then?
Yeah, it was, last, like
Dang,
yeah,
that's
insane.
crazy. Yeah, I bet the crowd was going wild.
They were, definitely. Even though, like, I was really nervous and I was super excited that I, just won, I could still hear them, which is pretty, like, cool. And I usually can't really hear what's going on around me. I'm not saying that I don't listen to my coaches, but
Right,
I kinda just, like, sound out all the noise, but it
for
was pretty cool
sure.
to hear them.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, it is really hard in your matches to be able to like zone the crowd out, but then also like hear your coaches. That's definitely a skill that takes a lot of time, but it is really hard in some of those matches to actually hear what's going on. Crazy enough, at my world championships when I was wrestling, I had won my first match. I believe it was against, honestly, I think it was either somebody from, oh, it was Austria and Germany that I got to wrestle. But my second match when I was wrestling, it came down, it was like 10-10 at the end, but I thought that I had the why am I literally just I have mom brain sometimes, so I'm forgetting the word, criteria. That's what
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is. Oh
yeah.
my heck, my brain. So I thought I had criteria, but there was like 30 seconds left and I did not have criteria and I didn't hear my coaches yelling at me. So when they raised the other girl's hand, I was pretty disappointed because
Oh
I
my
was
god.
pretty shocked. Yeah, I was shocked that I didn't win the match and then she went on to not wrestle very well, so I didn't get pulled back in, but that was definitely
Aw,
yeah, it was a challenging moment for sure. But
I
man,
bet.
those world stages, it's so cool to just see the wrestling and how people get into it and just seeing the different cultures and meeting different people. I think was probably one of my favorite things. So did you have any other cool experiences at the world championships that you were like, man, that was one of my favorite things?
100%. You know, it was really cool to see how different it was there. Some things were like there wasn't as much color, like at
Oh,
all.
okay.
Everyone was kind of wearing the same thing, It was pretty
Mm,
quiet. You could tell who was from America and who wasn't because of how
wow.
loud we were and
Right.
stuff like that in like other countries. But one of my favorite things there was definitely getting to see like, they had a lot of chocolate products, which is, I know, kinda random, but I like seeing and buying all the chocolate that was there, which was
Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool. Because it tasted a lot better too, and, like,
Really.
I know it was kind of like a lot of these things that I'm saying are about food, but,
It's
I just think
okay.
that that's a really cool aspect of different countries. It's just, like, the different foods they have from the United States, so, yeah,
Oh,
like, one of
for
my favorite
sure.
things was just seeing how different it was and trying all the chocolate.
Did you get to bring any chocolate home with you?
I actually didn't.
Sad. Dang it.
I
That's too
know.
bad. Shoot. Well, that's so cool. You got to experience all of that and just get to be around, other like-minded individuals. And man, this world team had a crazy showing. You had so many teammates that did such a good job. So what was it like being able to like compete alongside them, cheer them on, do all the things?
It was a super cool opportunity for sure. All those girls were super talented. That definitely helped me, step up my game because I didn't want to be like one of the girls to like, just not do as good as everybody else. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that's like kind of harsh, but it's just a
Right.
reality.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I'm really glad that I was able to come out, on top and stuff like that. But even if I didn't, it it still would have been like, super cool opportunity to cheer on my teammates like I did anyway. So it was really cool to be around all the other talented girls. And we all just, really helped each other during the weight cut, especially like Taina. She was definitely there for me when I was, cutting weight, and I was there for her. And it was just really cool to grow friendships with all the other girls too and get to know them on like a deeper level.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I feel like those relationships that you form on those trips is really cool. Usually those last for, a lifetime. So I bet that was just a really awesome experience. And I want to go back. We've got probably about 10 minutes left, but I want to hear, I think it was this season that you're one of the first girls to win the high school Triple Crown, which is the Powerade, the Ironman, and Beast of the East. So what was that like? And did you set out to do that? Or I just want to talk me through the whole thing.
So this was last year was my second high school season here, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, I forget. I don't know how I'm forgetting. But
It's
yeah,
okay.
I actually hadn't done Beast of the East, which was one of the Triple Crown tournaments. It was Beast of the East, obviously Iron Man and Powerade.
Uh-huh.
These were like obviously known for being pretty prestigious tournaments for
For
boys
sure.
and girls. It was really cool to be able to go to all three of them. My mindset though going into the season was just, win everything, which obviously everyone tries to do, but I
Right.
was just trying to use it as more of a practice for what I was really aiming toward, which was world team trials. So it
Uh-huh.
definitely helped, set me apart because I was just, out there doing my best and like everyone does, but it's just really helpful to be able to use that as a practice, see where I'm at as well with all these other girls, which definitely
Right.
helps. And,
Yeah.
each tournament, it was kind of like every other week. So that was also something to get used to, weighing in every other week and
Yeah.
getting used to that and wrestling all these girls that are super skilled back to back. But winning a triple crown with like Violet Lazier and Tanya Fernandez was super, super cool because I know them and we're friends, and we
Uh-huh.
were all just like doing our best to grow as wrestlers, as people, which is really cool. And
Uh-huh.
since it was also like a new title, like they'd never given it out to anyone, we were
Right.
just really excited to do it and like, set kind of a new standard.
That's so cool that you guys got to be part of like that inaugural year of them doing the Triple Crown is so cool. And I bet that was just a really awesome experience to be able to go out and compete at those prestigious tournaments. So, so cool. And I really want to know kind of with you moving into your senior year, what kind of goals you have for yourself moving forward.
So I actually am doing a little bit different this year. Since I'm doing online school, I have a lot
Oh,
more
wow.
time to train. Yeah, I'm pretty
Cool.
happy about that. But
That's sweet. Dang.
definitely. It's pretty cool. Some people don't have the opportunity to do that, so I'm really grateful that I do. And
Yeah.
you know, I get to train a lot more, and I might get to be able to do the Triple Crown again this year. I'm not completely sure yet, but you know, I'm gonna try to do that, but for my season, my goals are just to honestly, try to be the best that I can, like I did last year, and just really prepare
Uh-huh.
for my main goals, like World Team Trials, and especially since this year's like preparing for the Olympic year next year.
Yeah.
I definitely got to step up my game and really get on that more than I was last year. That's honestly just my main goal, is just working toward the Olympics next year. Obviously that's a pretty high standard to set, but
Sure.
I do tend to do that for myself. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's nothing
Well,
different.
No, nothing different because you've been setting these high standards and you've been accomplishing these high goals. So I think it's really awesome that you are setting your sights on, an Olympic dream. I think is super awesome, and obviously you're doing all the things that that it takes to be able to reach these high things. So I think as long as you keep it up, that you're going to do awesome stuff. And I'm curious, with you doing online school, do you get to compete in like a regular high school season, or do you have to like not do like do you get to do like the state tournament? Do you get to do all of that stuff?
Actually, so I do get to compete, with a normal high school season, which is pretty cool. My
Mm-hmm.
school is really flexible with that. I'm actually
Mm,
really grateful that like I'm able to be able to go to this school and that they are like able to let me as well like do the high school season while being online, which it's really hard to find a school that actually does let you do that. So I
mm-hmm.
will be doing the high school season, which honestly, since it's my senior year, I am really excited for, to hang out with my friends and get to know them more and just have fun. To be honest, is one of my main focuses is just have fun.
That's great. Yeah, and I think when you're having fun, that's normally when you're competing the best anyway. So I think that's super
Mhm.
exciting and way cool that you do get to have that flexibility where you can do online school and then still go and compete at those tournaments. I bet that's going to be really, really fun. So super excited for you. Like I said, I've been a fan of following along and watching what you've been doing because you're really exciting to watch. You've got some really great stuff, and man, your last month and what you've been able to accomplish has just been really cool. So I'm really grateful that you took the time to have this conversation with me, that I got to learn so much about you. And before we end, I want to end with some rapid fire questions if you would be willing.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. So let's start off with what's your favorite takedown?
I would say a snap down, go behind, or a low single.
Mm-hmm, I love it. That's great. Okay, folk style or freestyle?
Definitely freestyle.
I love that. All right, who is one of your role models in the sport and why?
I would say definitely my mom, even though, she's not still wrestling, she did wrestle and, she continues to help me accomplish all my goals every day.
That's so sweet. I love that. We're gonna have to get Denise on the podcast to just chat about all the things that she does to support you and how she's just been so inspirational. I love it. Okay, who is the toughest opponent that you've ever wrestled?
Ooh, I wanna say probably the girl that I wrestled first round. This is kind of a hard question. First girl
It
that I
is.
wrestled at Worlds or Everest
Mm,
or Evanessa.
mm-hmm.
Definitely those three.
For sure. They're all very, very tough.
Mhm.
Who is your favorite wrestler to watch?
Ooh, I would probably say Kayla Merkel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's pretty amazing. I love her fireman. She's got a pretty great fireman's for sure.
Mhm. Definitely.
What is your favorite thing about wrestling?
I like the fact that it creates a lot of bonds that are really strong that I feel like you just can't get anywhere else. It's just a really unique thing that is really special to wrestling, and I just really love that about it.
For sure. It really is. I think that wrestling creates relationships unlike any other sport. Like it's crazy. It seriously is a family when you're wrestling. I love that.
Mhm.
All right. If you were to pick early morning practice or afternoon practice, which are you picking?
I gotta say afternoon. I'm not really a morning person.
That's okay. I love it. Okay, what's one word to describe your wrestling style?
I'd say gritty.
Mm,
Yeah, half the stuff I do definitely is not very technical, but it
mm.
just happens and really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's a really good trait to have, of just being able to grit things out for sure. All right, if you weren't a wrestler, what do you think you would be doing?
I'd probably be doing, I want to say nothing. Like, I don't know. Maybe soccer. Maybe soccer.
Okay, okay, I love it. Did you do that when you were really young?
I did actually. Yeah, I was good at it for like a what's it called? Like a little toddler, but maybe
That's
if I kept
awesome.
going.
Yeah, right. I love it. All right. Let's see. Do you have any hidden talents?
I do not,
No hidden
honestly.
talent.
I
That's
wish.
You're a good wrestler. You're a great wrestler. So that's pretty talent in and of itself, I would say.
Yeah, that's all right.
Exactly. And then I did see I want to end with I did see that you're somebody that likes to braid and do nails. Is that right?
That is true, yeah.
That's kind of a talent, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I'll just start counting that now.
For sure. So you get to braid your teammates' hair. Do you do their nails too?
I actually do some of my friends' nails, whenever I got nothing to do. But I do love braiding hair. It's so fun. I feel like that's also something I love about wrestling is, we just braid each other's hair. And I know other sports do that too, but I
Oh,
just
for
think it's really
sure.
cool.
It's awesome that you guys are able to do, add in some of those kind of like girly aspects into the sport. And, part of the reason that I named the podcast a Pretty Tough Podcast is because, I want girls to be able to know that they can still embrace all the feminine characteristics that they have while still being, a strong wrestler. So, last question will kind of end on what does being pretty tough mean to you?
Honestly, I feel like it's just like part of being a girl, being, feminine, and also being able to do these things that aren't so feminine, just
For
being
sure.
tough as well. Wrestling is definitely not the girliest sport out there, but I think just being able to make it you and be a girl and like own doing it is super, super cool.
For sure. I love it. Well, Marlee, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. This has been awesome to get to know you a little bit better and talk about your experiences over the last little bit. So, thank you. And seriously, I'm really excited to continue to watch you hit those goals and continue to see you compete.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for all of our listeners, if you're not already, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with anybody that you think could benefit. And thank you for being a pretty tough supporter.